The strange signal arrived at 2:17 in the morning, hidden inside normal space data from the Helios array. It was faint, buried under the hiss of background noise from the universe, but its pattern was too perfect to be random. Sarah Quinn, lead scientist at the Deep Space Listening Center, replayed it again and again. The wave pattern didn't match any known star pulse, black hole flare, or spaceship beacon. It was too exact. She leaned toward her screen. 7.083 light-years, vector change, delta Kepler boundary. The numbers repeated every 91 seconds. After them came a low humming tone, like a musical note that had been playing since the beginning of time. "Another false alarm?" asked Tom Harris, the engineer at the next desk. Sarah shook her head. "No, this isn't noise. This is a message." The hum changed pitch slightly over time, a sign that the sender was moving, and moving incredibly fast, maybe close to the speed of light. The Helios array wasn't just any telescope. It was the largest network of radio dishes in human history, with antennas on the moon, in Chile's deserts, and across Antarctica's ice. It was built to detect the faintest signals from the oldest galaxies, but sometimes it caught things no one expected. And now, the source of this signal was coming from between galaxies. Not from a star system, not from a small cluster of stars, but from the deep, silent space between the Milky Way and Andromeda, a place that should be completely dark. 2 hours later, the director of the center walked in. "Sarah, is this worth calling the Global Space Council?" She hesitated. "If I'm right, something is traveling through the void between our galaxy and Andromeda, and it's coming toward us." Space fact. The space between galaxies, called the intergalactic medium, is not truly empty. It holds thin clouds of gas, cosmic rays, and invisible dark matter. But the distances are so huge that even light takes millions of years to cross them. That's why an object moving this fast should be impossible, unless it's using technology beyond what humans understand. For the next 6 days, Sarah's team tracked the signal. Strangely, its path kept changing slightly, as though the sender knew they were being watched. By day 7, a second signal appeared. This one was clearer, closer, and it wasn't just numbers. When they decoded it, the result was a star map, but not of the Milky Way. The galaxy in the image had torn, ragged arms, like something had clawed through it. At its center glowed an unusually bright core. "That's not Andromeda," said Tom. "No," Sarah replied. "I've never seen this galaxy before." The team tried to figure out exactly where the signal came from, but the numbers didn't match normal space. The positions seemed to jump, as if the object wasn't entirely in our universe. Then came the third signal. It wasn't numbers, it wasn't a map. It was a sound. A whisper over a slow, deep beat. Sarah filtered the noise and ran it through language analysis software. The computer thought it might contain 2 human words. Stop. Coming. The council could no longer hide it. Within 2 days, every major observatory in the solar system was scanning the void. Even the unfinished telescope at Mars's South Pole joined in. Some experts thought it was a warning. Others thought it was a trap. The coordinates were bait. The public quickly split into 3 camps. The dreamers, hoping this was first contact with a friendly alien civilization. The worried, fearing it meant invasion. The doubters, sure it was a trick or a glitch. Sarah didn't fully agree with any of them. She was a scientist, but the numbers in the first signal bothered her. When she layered each day's readings on top of each other, they formed a path, a curved route through deep space that would bring the object to the Milky Way's edge in 4 years. 4 years until arrival. One late night, Sarah stayed in the lunar control room, watching the Earth turn slowly below. She couldn't stop thinking about the broken galaxy from the second signal. Galaxies didn't naturally look that damaged. Something had destroyed it. She compared it to simulated galaxy collisions. Only one scenario matched: a galaxy torn apart by a dark matter singularity. A rare event, but one that could tear stars from their orbits and twist the very shape of space-time. If that was true, then the signal might not be a threat at all. It could be a message from survivors. At 3:12 a.m., another packet of data arrived. These weren't star positions, they were energy readings. Huge bursts of power, switching back and forth, plus 7.083, minus 7.083, plus 7.083, minus 7.083. Positive, negative, positive, negative. Matter and antimatter. Sarah's stomach tightened. Whoever was traveling toward us had mastered matter-antimatter energy well enough to cross intergalactic space in decades, not millions of years. Her communicator buzzed. It was the director. "Sarah, we have a problem. Another message just came in." She sat up. "From them?" "No. From inside the Milky Way." She frowned. "Who is it?" The director's voice was tense. "They're telling us, don't answer."
The warning from inside the Milky Way changed everything. Sarah and Tom sat in the dim control room staring at the new message. It was short, only 14 seconds of sound, and scrambled almost beyond recognition. But after hours of cleaning the audio, they made out a deep, steady voice. "Do not reply. They will hear you. We are watching." The signal came from somewhere beyond the galactic core, more than 25,000 light-years away. No human ship had ever gone that far. "Could be a prank," Tom muttered. Sarah shook her head. "Not with that level of encryption. Whoever sent this knows exactly what they're doing." Within a day, the council called a closed meeting. Representatives from every major space agency appeared on the secure link. General Malik from the Orbital Defense Command spoke first. "We've confirmed the Milky Way signal came from a moving source. It's fast, stealthy, and has tech we can't track with normal sensors. Our analysts call them the Watchers." Some scientists believed the Watchers were a hidden ancient civilization living within the galaxy, one that had chosen to remain invisible until now. Others thought they were simply an advanced human colony, long lost and now rediscovered. Sarah wasn't convinced by either theory. If the Watchers really existed, and if they were warning humanity not to respond, then they must know more about the incoming object than they were admitting. For the next 2 weeks, the Council agreed. No reply to the intergalactic signal. But that didn't stop the object from sending new transmissions every few days, each one stranger than the last. One was a sequence of low pulses that, when graphed, formed the outline of a spiral arm of a galaxy, but the arm was collapsing inward, as if pulled by something unseen. Another was a series of temperature readings, each one climbing higher than the last, ending with a sudden drop to absolute zero. Sarah guessed it was describing an environment moving from extreme heat to freezing nothingness, something only possible if a star system were suddenly swallowed by a massive black hole or similar phenomenon. On day 23, something happened that no one expected. The Helios array picked up a third source, not from the intergalactic void, not from the Watchers, but from inside the solar system. The coordinates pointed to a location far beyond Neptune, near the outer edge of the Kuiper Belt. There shouldn't have been anything there but ice, rock, and a few unmanned probes. Yet the signal was real, and it matched the pattern of the incoming object. "That's impossible," Tom whispered. Sarah stared at the numbers. "Unless..." She stopped. "Unless what?" unless there's already one of them here. A probe was launched from a Neptune-orbiting station to investigate. It would take 5 days to reach the coordinates. In the meantime, the incoming signal from the void began to change. It grew louder, sharper, almost impatient. Sarah noticed something unsettling. The timing between transmissions was shrinking. Instead of every 3 days, they were now arriving every 36 hours. It was as if the sender was speeding up. On the 4th day of the probe's journey, the Watchers sent another message. This time, the voice was different, faster, urgent. "It's too late. They've seeded your system. Stay silent or you'll lead them here." The word seeded chilled Sarah. It made her think of something planting itself in the solar system, waiting, growing. When the probe finally reached the location, its camera feed showed nothing. Empty blackness. Then for a split second, a faint curve of light, like the edge of a sphere, slid across the view. And then the signal went dead. The last piece of data received was a radiation reading higher than anything ever recorded outside a star. That night, Sarah broke the council rule. She crafted a short, harmless reply to the intergalactic signal. "Who are you? What happened to your galaxy?" She sent it through a narrowband pulse at low power, hoping it would go unnoticed. By the Watchers. Less than 2 hours later, her private console lit up. A return signal had arrived, not on the Helios array, but directly on her secure channel. The message wasn't words, it was a video. Grainy, black and white like old Earth footage. It showed a planet's surface being ripped apart by a blinding light. Skyscrapers toppled, oceans boiled, and in the sky, a dark shape blotted out the stars. At the end, a simple graphic appeared. The same torn spiral galaxy she had seen before, but now with a new detail. A path traced from its ruins directly towards the Milky Way. Sarah's heart pounded. They weren't just travelers. They were fleeing. And whatever destroyed their galaxy might be following them. When Sarah showed the video to the council, it caused chaos. Half the members demanded humanity prepare for contact and possibly offer aid. The other half wanted to block all communications, hide all signals, and hope the travelers passed by without noticing Earth. The Watchers sent no more messages after that. The incoming signal from the void, however, grew stronger still, so strong that even amateur radio astronomers could pick it up. Social media filled with debates, conspiracy theories, and panic. Some people claimed to see strange moving stars at night. Others reported bright flashes near the moon. The line between real events and paranoia began to blur. Then, 1 month after the first signal, Sarah calculated the latest trajectory and realized with a cold certainty that the incoming object would not just pass by the galaxy, it would enter the Milky Way directly towards the solar system. The estimated arrival time was no longer 4 years. It was 3.5.
The days after Sarah's new calculation were tense. Government leaders avoided the topic in public, but rumors spread faster than any official statement could contain. News channels ran endless speculation, mixing shaky telescope footage with wild theories. Sarah stayed in the lunar control room, tracking every tiny change in the incoming object's path. It was still moving too fast for any known propulsion system. Every few days, it sent another burst of numbers, each one stronger than the last. Then came the day the Watchers broke their silence. Sarah was alone when the message arrived. The voice was calm, but heavy with urgency. "You should not have replied. They have locked on to your signal. You cannot stop them now." She swallowed hard and forced herself to speak into the recorder. "Who are they?" There was a pause. Then the reply came. "The ones behind the shadow, the ones that unmake stars. They are not chasing the travelers. They follow their prey to the end." Sarah froze. The watches weren't warning her about the travelers because they feared the travelers themselves. They feared what was following them. The watchers sent one more piece of data, an image showing two galaxies in close proximity. In one, countless stars were missing, replaced by black holes and empty gaps. In the other, bright lines of light curved through space like threads, connecting to the first galaxy's core. Sarah didn't need an astrophysics degree to see the meaning. Something was feeding from one galaxy into another. She called Tom. It's not just an invasion, it's consumption. Like a predator draining its prey across light years. Tom's face on the comm screen was pale, and we just lit up like a beacon. The council split into two camps again. The first group insisted on preparing a defense, mobilizing every orbital weapon, every deep space drone, even experimental gravitational shields. The second group believed the only hope was to shut everything down, power grids, satellites, even interplanetary beacons. But it was already too late to hide. That night, Sarah detected something new. The incoming object's main signal had split into two. The first was still coming straight toward the solar system. The second had curved sharply, straight toward the coordinates of the hidden Watcher ship beyond the galactic core. They found them, Sarah whispered. 2 days later, every telescope aimed at that part of the sky saw it, the faint outline of something enormous, blotting out background stars. For a few seconds, it looked like a massive arc stretching across space, and then it vanished, leaving nothing but darkness. From then on, things moved quickly. The incoming travelers began broadcasting continuously, sending a flood of data in every spectrum: star maps, mathematical formulas, even short bursts of images. Many of the images showed their people, tall, thin, with long arms and large dark eyes, living inside vast cylindrical habitats. Sarah wanted to believe these travelers were peaceful, but one detail in the transmissions gnawed at her. Every single image of their home galaxy was shown from before its destruction. There were no pictures of the aftermath. The Watchers didn't send any more messages. On the 109th day since the first signal, deep space sensors detected a shockwave, not from the incoming travelers, but from far behind them. It was faint at first, but it grew steadily stronger. Sarah reviewed the wave's shape. It wasn't a random burst. It was a front, a wall of energy moving at nearly light speed. She ran the numbers twice, then a third time. If the wall kept its speed, it would reach the solar system only weeks after the travelers arrived. She went to the council meeting and placed her results on the table. You don't have months to argue anymore. Whatever's following them will be here almost right after they are. You need to decide, welcome them or warn them away. The vote was split evenly. In the end, the deciding voice was the directors. We make contact. If they know how to outrun this thing, we need that knowledge. If they don't, at least we'll understand what's coming. The contact attempt was made 3 days later. Sarah stood in the array's control room, speaking into a translator that converted her voice into a sequence of tones matching the traveler's signal patterns. This is Earth. We received your messages. We wish to understand what happened to your world. The reply came only minutes later, a speed that confirmed they were much closer than before. We will come. Do not fear us. We flee the shadow as you will soon flee. She leaned closer to the console. What is the shadow? There was a long silence before the tones returned. It is hunger given form. It does not think. It only takes. It has crossed the dark between galaxies before. It will cross again. By now, the whole solar system knew. The media broadcast every signal, every interpretation, every possible scenario. Some people prepared to fight, others prepared to leave, gathering in secret around experimental colony ships that had never been tested beyond the asteroid belt. And then, with no warning, the travelers arrived. They didn't come in one ship, but in dozens, long, silver arcs with glowing blue edges, each the size of a small city. They slowed as they reached the orbit of Pluto, then stopped completely, holding formation. For hours, nothing happened. Then a single ship broke away and moved slowly toward Neptune's orbit. From Earth,
Tom and Sarah watched the feed. The ship was beautiful in a strange way, like a curve of frozen light. But when it opened, they saw what was inside. Row after row of massive cylinders, each holding an entire ecosystem. Sarah realized these weren't just refugees. They had brought their worlds with them. The council opened a direct channel. The alien leader, a tall figure with silver skin and eyes like black mirrors, appeared as a shimmering projection. "We ask shelter. In return, we give warning. The shadow is close. It cannot be stopped, only outrun. Join us, and we will lead you away." Some saw salvation in those words. Others saw only the beginning of dependence on an alien race whose full motives were unknown. Sarah asked the question no one else dared. "What happens to the places you leave behind?" The alien's eyes darkened. "They end." That night, Sarah stayed alone in the array's control room, staring at the data from the trailing shockwave. It had grown larger, and now strange gaps appeared within it, regions where even the background radiation of the universe seemed to vanish. She thought of the Watchers, of their sudden silence. She thought of the hidden object in the Kuiper Belt, and the brief flash the probe had seen. A terrible possibility formed in her mind. What if the travelers hadn't just been running? What if they were leading the shadow here, so they wouldn't face it alone? 2 weeks later, the first faint edge of the shockwave reached the outer solar system. The alien fleet began moving again, slowly at first, then faster, heading for the dark space beyond the Oort cloud. Thousands of human ships followed, military vessels, science craft, and unmarked colony ships. Sarah and Tom stood in the array's viewing deck, watching their world shrink behind them. "Do you think they're saving us?" Tom asked. Sarah didn't answer. She kept her eyes on the data feed where the shadow's front edge was now a jagged, yawning gap in space itself, swallowing stars as if they had never been. Behind them, Earth still shone in the darkness. Ahead, the alien fleet stretched into the void. Somewhere between those 2 points, Sarah knew the truth waited. Whether the travelers were humanity's saviors or the bait for its doom, they would all find out soon enough.